Hey fam, welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, back for another Real Housewives of Atlanta review. This is season 16, episode 3, High Notes and Cheap Shots. My thoughts. First of all, that scene at the end got on my nerves because I hate to see grown behind women going back and forth calling each other's names. I think that Portia is flawed. I think that Portia shows us time and time again why she's that way, which has to do a lot with her mother. I think that the scene at the end where her mother is talking to her and they're both in this la la fairy tale land where the reality is being changed and the narrative is being altered is problematic for me. Someone should be calling her out. And if you are as close as Portia is saying, I would hope that you would be able to hold her accountable, if not on camera, at least that you're doing so off camera. And based on the interaction, it doesn't seem that way. I also feel like Portia continues to show us that she's not a good friend because we're on the third episode in and you've already showed us that you show up late for Shamia. I don't really think you've been there for her as a friend when it comes to what's been going on with her youngest daughter. And I also feel like you're about to turn on her because of what Kelly told you. Shamia is the person that for the longest time has been standing beside Portia, who has been shielding her and protecting her, even though she knows some of what her friend has done is wrong. I don't know what they talk about off camera, but on camera, Shamia very much so is protecting Portia. And given that, you would think that Portia wouldn't pause or hesitate when she's told that Shamia said something as simple as, I think you need to talk to Portia about that. You would think that she meant you ill will and she wanted you to be ambushed. Doesn't make sense to me. As far as Brit is concerned, I'm trying to keep an open mind about her, but there is something that is very fake about her. I feel like when she's in a lot of the scenes with her family or with her husband's family, I feel like it comes across to me as inauthentic, like she is producing herself. Something about the insurance thing also isn't making sense to me. If you get it, put it down in the comments. So let's begin. We are at Brit's home with the episode beginning for a family dinner. She has hired a chef, and the chef is there to make fancy lobster tails according to her nephew. Brit reminds us of all the guys that she's dated, these high profile men, these famous men. And she also reminds us again about her being a high school video vixen. I want to know if she has said this many times or if production has edited it this many times. Either way, it bothers me that she keeps saying this like it's something to be proud of, like it's something to brag about. The fact that you were in high school and you were a video vixen is concerning to me. But she presents it like it's something to check off her bucket list. So she dated all those high profile men, but for her, Mike is the real man. That's the man that she wanted. If you say so, sis. I often feel like Mike, I don't know if it's the camera or what, but something doesn't seem right about him either. So his family, which is his sister, I guess the sister's husband and their children arrive. They sit down and enjoy their family meal. Brit's sister-in-law asks, about the party. She says it went well with the exception of Kenya. She feels like Kenya was being shady. I personally want Brit to get off of the whole Kenya thing. It's not that deep. Kenya isn't thinking about you, but I have a feeling, well, we already know that it is going to become a thing because you keep bringing it up. And what's interesting, it's not interesting. The point is, Kenya didn't have a problem with her because if Kenya had a problem with her at the end of the episode when she sees her, Kenya's the one who stretched out her arms to give her a hug. So you're making it seem like Kenya is this bad person because she asked a question about your ring when it's not that deep. It's very much so giving storyline, which continues to make me feel like she's trying to produce herself, right? The subject of having a kid comes up. Mike wants them to have a child now, while Brit now wants to make sure that they have the ceremony before the kids. I get that she wants to be snatched maybe, but to me, if I were in this situation, If I know that I've already been married, we already have the paperwork, and you're just talking about the whole ceremony of it all, to me, the actual marriage and the birth of my child would supersede a ceremony. But for her, she wants her ceremony first. So Brittany and her sister-in-law go downstairs to talk. We find out that Britt's father passed in 2015. He supposedly had an insurance policy that was worth $2 million, but he passed while in the process of switching jobs. So the mother wasn't, able to get it. It wasn't eligible. I'm guessing it was through his job. I'm guessing it lapsed because something happened with that payment, in my opinion. Where was he terminated? Like, why was it that the insurance didn't cover? Did he not have, another insurance policy to lean back on, like with the bank or something independent? I don't quite get the way that she said it. As a result of them not being able to access that $2 million, they ended up having to do a GoFundMe to take care of his funeral. It makes me wonder how much debt they had, that it wasn't something, if her father was this great businessman, how he didn't have anything saved up for that. But it could also be that he just didn't want them to spend that much money on a funeral, or maybe the mother had other expenses where she couldn't afford it. Either way, as a result of the situation and having to do the GoFundMe, Britt decided that she needed to start an insurance agency, which she did, because she didn't want other people to go through what she and her family went through. She said in the beginning, she offered her sisters a seat at the table, basically. She wanted this to be a family business where they could get money together. But in the end, it didn't work out. She sold the company and the relationship has struggled. I think that the relationship struggled before she sold the company. And if she sold the company, did she create another company? I'm not quite sure about that. So she says her eldest sister felt like she was too tough in the workplace, and her middle sister got very, very comfortable, especially when she said that she was going to sell off the company, and she slacked, so she had to terminate her. Mike ends up coming downstairs as his sister is talking about, you got to work it out. You're always the one that's talking about the importance of family. And he cuts the conversation short because he's ready for some dessert, some type of cake. Next is Portia and Kelly. This, to me, as I said, is what looks like the beginning of strife with Portia and Shamia. Shamia, this is why you have to stop being super save-a-ho when it comes to Portia, because Portia continues to show you that she doesn't have your back. So Portia and Kelly meet up to make peace before Kelly's Mommy and Me event that she's having to raise money for brittle bone disease. Kelly, we get a clip, called Portia to invite her to this event that she's having, and Portia didn't even know who it was. She did accept when she realized who it was, though. So they're clearing the air so the vibes are positive at the event. So at the beginning, when they're first sitting at the table together, you can tell that there's some tension there. There's some awkwardness. In my opinion, Kelly came with different energy when she was talking about the things that she said in regards to the situation with Portia when she was talking to Shamia. Like, she admitted it, but her tone changed. And we all know that you can use or say something and it's all in the delivery. So for this conversation, she's going to say that she wasn't, meaning anything by it. Before, it was, that's what she gets for taking that lady's man. But in front of Portia, her tone is slightly different. It's more jokey. For me, I would have appreciated or respected Kelly more if she gave the same energy in that lunch when she was talking to Shamia as she did at that party. But I also would have appreciated it. Portia would have actually listened to Shamia, because Shamia explained this thing exactly how it happened. But Portia, you kind of switched up the delivery a little bit. So Portia asks her how, they're going to be interacting today, because Kelly has multiple personalities, and she tells us all of her personalities are loud. Portia, you're not quite all the time either. While Kelly tells us that she has different personalities and Portia has different men. So the subject of Shamia comes up with Portia wanting to know exactly what Kelly said, because to her, Shamia presented it like the ladies were talking about her despite not knowing her. They were. Kelly claims it wasn't like it. It was more like jokes. As I said, I don't feel like it was a joke. Kelly says that, she said some stuff, but she didn't mean it in a way where she was just trying to dog Portia out. She adds that, Shamia did tell her, like, if you want to know something, direct your questions to Portia. Shamia told me that I should ask you myself. Nothing is wrong with that. In my opinion, Portia, you are a big girl. You can handle that. But Kelly left out something in that delivery too, because she said, no, you don't really know Portia. You should take the time to get to know her. So we're both of them were leaving out things that gave the full context of a situation that completely changed the way something was being said or delivered. Now, rather than understanding that Shamia didn't want to get in the middle of it, Portia is slightly bothered, saying that Shamia wanted her to be ambushed. That's a big jump to me. And I don't think, had anyone told me something about one of my friends, that would be my first conclusion. My first thought, knowing my friends, would be, okay, maybe you misunderstood. Portia says, so you're saying that my best friend told you to come and ask me about that at her party? Shamia sent you to ask me that, knowing what I've been going through, knowing about my divorce? And Kelly's like, I don't think she was trying to be messy. I just think she was trying to say, come to you, which is what she was trying to say. Because Portia is so distracted by all of it, just like that, she lets it go. What are we missing, editing? It seemed like it was dropped rather quickly, right? I guess it's because she believes Kelly, which makes no sense to me. Portia claims that her and Kelly's dynamic is up and down. She says she felt like Kelly was trolling her. She even calls her a troll to her face. Kelly says like she hopes she's a cute one, and she says some name, and that's the end of that scene. So we go on to Drew. Drew is in the studio and she is recording. I heard a clip of one of her songs on Instagram and it sounds really, really good. So I may actually purchase her album to support her, even though I do believe that, Drew, you got to work on telling the truth, boo. So she lets us know that her voice is off because she's been filming a movie that has her screaming a lot. So Cynthia, Kenya, and Angela arrive. They listen to her song as she's coming out and they're clapping. They like it. Her song is a love song, but for her, it's a breakup song. She says she's been going through a lot. She talks about how the ladies have supported her. She appreciates Kenya and how Kenya has been there for her through her divorce, checking in on her and things like that, even though there's some times where she just wants to be in a shell and she doesn't feel like talking. And Cynthia says that she can relate to that because we know that Cynthia has been through 2 public divorces on this platform. The subject of Angela and Charles comes up. Angela says that her and Charles met because they were in the same building. He held the elevator for her and they've been together ever since. Once they got together, she had the concierge, the people at the front desk, reporting on Charles coming and going. It's never that deep to me, especially because you tried to talk to him 10 years earlier and he had no interest in you. So now here you are and you kind of low key like stalking a man without stalking him by getting the workers to do your dirty bidding. So she would do things like ask the person at the front desk, like if they saw him on a particular day or what he was doing and things of that nature. They chuckle about it. Like here's the thing. Is it wrong for you to check on the person that you're with? It depends to me on the extent. Like if it's a one-time thing because you're trying to surprise them or something like that, no problem. But to me, it sounds like she was really trying to keep tabs on him. And one thing I've learned over time is that if someone wants to do something, cheat or whatever it is that they want to do, they'll do it regardless. Like they'll find a way. Kenya brings up Dennis, wondering if he's there. Drew says he was supposed to come, but something came up. That something, in my opinion, is Portia. Dennis is not trying to deal with the wrath of Portia. Drew claims that she doesn't, talk to him. She, tells us that, most of their conversation is via text. She calls him, but he doesn't pick up the phone. And then production shows us that she's lying. We see a few clips at different times of her on the phone with Dennis. Girl, you cannot say he's your angel in one breath, but then you're not friends in another. This is why a lot of times people don't believe you. He's like a brother to you. To me, that would mean that you guys have a closer dynamic, maybe even than friends. So I don't know. I don't understand why she does this to herself and why she just doesn't own whatever her truth is. So Drew feels like, this group has attacked her a lot. And Kenya says, like, look, Drew, you can't play victim because you brought a lot of that on yourself, which you did. If Drew would be honest about things or just say she'd rather not talk about it, people can't come back on you. The problem with Drew is that Drew lies a lot and it's about the most basic stuff, and she doesn't remember her lies because it's hard to remember a lie when all you got to do is tell the truth. Bottom line is, Kenya and Cynthia feel like Drew is in the wrong for how she handled this situation with Portia. They feel like they should have spoken to Portia before working with Dennis. Cynthia points out how with Kenya, when Kenya decided that she wanted to film with Leon, that she made sure that she contacted Cynthia before she even went that route. And Cynthia was all for it. Like, she was like, yeah, go ahead and do it. But she appreciated the fact that Kenya decided to reach out to her. Cynthia just says, that's a respect thing. Drew says that she did try to contact Portia 3 times via text. One time she told her that she really needed to talk to her about something, but she responded that she was in New York. Another time they were supposed to meet while they went out to eat, but Portia canceled on her. I don't feel like it's that deep. I feel like if she truly wanted to have the conversation with Portia, if she truly wanted Portia to have knowledge of this, then she would have just sent her a text message or would have called her and been like, look, I'm about to work with Dennis. How do you feel about it? If she did that, she would have responded. But this also to me goes to show you that Portia and her aren't that close, that they're really not that much of a friend situation, because she was reading the messages where she messaged in January and she didn't respond until February. She messaged in February and she didn't respond till like March. Like, the dates were really, really weird with her response time. So even in a text message, they don't have that type of communication. So Kenya wants to know why Dennis can't speak up for her. And I think Dennis isn't speaking up because he doesn't want to. Not only is this publicity for them and their upcoming project, but it's also a way to get under Portia's skin. He wants to get under her skin. In my opinion, you tell me yours. So Drew talks about him staying out of it because he's professional. This is business. Kenya's like, okay, but you're the one who's being talked about like you're a whore. I said, oh, Lord, not a whore. So Cynthia's like, okay, calling somebody a hoe is okay, but calling somebody a whore is terrible. In my opinion, they're both terrible. Kenya will always take that extra dig. Neither one of the names are okay, but I get what Kenya's saying. Like, people are talking about you in the streets basically like you're a home wrecker. That's what she's trying to say. So Cynthia then brings up Shamia, because in her eyes, Shamia started all of this by bringing it up at her party. Angela steps in saying that she asked Shamia why she even asked the question in front of the group in the first place, and that Shamia went off on her, saying that she didn't say this, that she didn't say anything about effing him. And Kenya, and I think Cynthia too, heard her say that, even though we get a flashback that shows that Shamia asked about dating. I personally do not feel like Shamia went off. I think that Shamia was frustrated because Angela said that Shamia said that they were effing when Shamia asked if they were dating. Angela says after that she stormed off. So I guess Angela, in my opinion, likes to change the narrative too, because she did not storm off in that setting. In that setting, she shut you guys down and she said that the work is over. She don't want to keep talking about this, and she left. There's a big difference there. Drew says, well, Portia reached out to me and said that she wanted to talk to me about it. So hopefully we can talk about it soon. Cynthia says, let me give you a piece of advice here. Baby daddies, that's different. I still don't feel like that much of an explanation was owed to Portia, just because we know for a fact that Dennis did have the conversation with her prior, even though Drew didn't. And Portia is supposed to be, or was supposed to be, not worried about Dennis. So I don't know. I get the point in feeling like maybe she should have said something, but that goes back to Drew. All Drew had to do was send a text message. And here's my question. If she said no, then what? Because I don't think that Portia goes around asking Dennis permission or wondering how he feels about things. So why does she expect so much from other people when it comes to her? Shamia, in my opinion, is that person who will always show up for everyone else, even to her own detriment. Even while she's going through her own struggles, she continues to be relatable to me. In this episode, Shamia and Kelly at the end, surprisingly, were two people I found myself rooting for. So Shamia is at home talking with her sisters who've come over. She has a lot going on, and her sisters have been there through it all. Her sisters have had her back. They are her family, and they show up even when they have their own health things going on, because she talks about how she had to go back and forth a lot with her youngest daughter with hospital stays and things of that nature. And her sister, who has lupus, was sacrificing her health to make sure that she was there for, I believe her name is Shy. So it just goes to show you how tight they all are. So Shy has to have her tonsils and her adenoids taken out. While she's thinking about that, she's also concerned about her youngest daughter, because she still doesn't know what other health complications that Shiloh will have. I feel like I'm messing up their names, but the S's. She's crying and thinking about all the things that she's been through, and she's thinking about the fact that she had the ectopic pregnancy and the possibility of her embryos that she has not resulting in pregnancy, while she's talking with the surrogate, and she knows that her husband wants more children, and she's trying to make sure that she can do that for him. And I just feel like he said that they'll deal with it as the situation comes. But I feel like she's putting an immense amount of pressure on herself, and she shouldn't be. Those 7 rounds that she did in order to get the eggs that she was able to retrieve in the first place put her at risk of blood clot and things of that nature. And knowing that, I feel like at some point you have to count your blessings, because you do have two beautiful children, and my hopes are that she can expand her family. But I hate that she's putting so much pressure on herself. Stress also causes other health issues, so hopefully she kind of like gives herself a break. So her sisters tell her, don't focus on all these things right now. Despite everything that you got going on, that the kids are thriving, and they are. So we see later on that her oldest is really excited to go to the hospital and have surgery. As they wait and they're nervous, everything goes well. The procedure is successful. We see her later talking on the phone with Portia, telling her that, they took out her tonsils, and she's showing Portia. And Portia tells her, oh, she's one of the special ones. And I thought that was really, really a really cute moment that they showed. I'm glad we saw at least that side of Portia. Portia's good to the kids. It's the adults that she's trash to. So we go to Angela. Angela is at the third of 4 investment properties that they're currently renovating. It's been 9 months to get to the point where they're at now. We get to see that it was gutted out at first and all that they've done now. Even though she's self-made, she's utilizing funds from her husband's trucking business and some of his money to support this move. She wants to show him that she can do this, that her real estate business is like that. So she's showing him the progress. She wants to have a vow renewal. This is when we find out that they were newly married in 2017. They haven't been together that long, you guys, but they were married in 2017. She doesn't say they were married. She says newly married around 2017. when he got kicked out of the Knicks game because the coach didn't like him. But really what it was, I think he was fighting or something like that. Anyways, he caused problems. He got kicked out, which caused problems in their marriage. I don't understand how that one event could cause problems in their marriage. Something might be missing there. But anyways, they split for a while. They were living separately. They got back together. They worked on things. And now she wants this renewal. He much rather have them focus on all these renovations before they worried about spending additional money on a wedding. I once again am with him. Y'all haven't even been married that long to be worried about a vow renewal. If it's really about the renewal, then do the vows and have a celebration at another time. But I don't think that's what it is. That's my opinion. You tell me yours. She wants the wedding now. The subject of therapy comes up. He thinks that she spent $3,000 a month on it. She says it's more like $1,200, but it's what they need. She wants to continue so they could have 10 more years. And he's not sure about the 10 years. I know that that's supposed to be a joke. But once again, as I said in a previous episode, I do not think that these men think about the way that they come across on this TV, which is a lot of these Housewives of Atlanta husbands seem to not want to film. They do. We get to Drew. We go with Drew as she goes to see her attorney. I personally believe that this was strictly to have something on camera. Don't cry about documentation being unsealed and not wanting your kids to find out when things that are in that documentation when you're up here and your lawyer is spouting off the very things that you're supposedly afraid will get out. So we find out that one of the reasons why this whole thing is taking so long is because Ralph is stalling. He has not provided documentation that he's supposed to. He was supposed to provide financial documentation, and the documentation that he provided included Drew's financials and not his. He was able to question Drew at their last hearing because he didn't have an attorney. He represented himself. They have a hearing in 3 weeks. The reason why he's in the basement is because he says that he can't manage 2 households, but they don't know if he can because they haven't seen his financials. While online, he's telling us that the reason why he's in 2 households is because he wants to be close to the kids. So which one is it? The goal is to have him out of the home so that they can sell it. I hear all this and I just think this is a mess. He has access to her financials. He knows what she's making because she followed the request of the court by turning over that discovery evidence, that documentation, the proof in the pudding, but he has not. Her file will be unsealed. She's nervous about what it will show. She asks what it will show. Drew, you already know what it will show, which it will show that he was cheating and he took money out of her account and he was sexting to other ladies and ladies were calling her and he put a tracking device on her and all these other things. But a lot of this has already been shown. So I don't understand why this is upsetting her like it is. We knew from the first time that they appeared on our screens that he was a problem and that he was manipulative. So why are we acting like we're so shocked by all of this? Ralph treated you like crap from day one. So we get to Portia and her mother going to get pampered and their feet done. Portia feels like she needs to talk to her mother. No, she feels like she talks a lot to her mother about things that are going on, especially her divorce. We hear again how hard this has all been for Portia. Portia tells us that in her first divorce, she didn't feel alone. Whereas with this one, she does, because Simon isn't calling or responding or anything, whereas Cordell was with her. He was going through it with her and Simon isn't. I'm confused as to why she's acting like her last divorce was that good, like it was amicable when it wasn't, because her divorce with him was not rainbows and cupcakes. The man kind of like kicked her out. If I remember correctly, she found out on social media about them being done and him wanting a divorce. He packed stuff up and had things sent to her mother's house and kind of messed up her wedding dress. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff there that's like, girl, what are you talking about? So Miss Diane always felt like Simon was her protector. And I want to know how, Sway. How did you feel that way? He wasn't even around long enough to be a protector. Why was he a protector? Because he was showing some funds? Like, it's not making sense. So Portia says, his side, the African side, is supposed to want to intervene. In America, you get divorces, but in Africa, you go to your elders and things of that nature to intervene. This isn't his first marriage, Portia. They don't really care about you. The subject of Portia and Shamia going out to have a good time comes up. She tells her mother that Shamia filled her in on how when she went to lunch with Kelly and Britt, that they talked about her the entire time. And her mother can't understand why she would allow them to speak negatively about her and why she would even share that information with Portia, because she's her friend. She tells her to watch the dog that brings her the bone. Interesting way to talk about someone who's supposedly been your daughter's best friend since high school. I think that there's some envy there. I don't think Shamia allowed anyone to do anything. I don't even understand why she would feel the need to speak that way about Shamia. But Miss Diane's response makes me feel like she don't like Shamia. So it's time for Kelly's event. We see all of the moms and their babies getting ready for this, I hope I say it right, Osteogenesis Imperfecta Foundation event, also known as brittle bone disease. Kelly has shut down a store. They're working with Kelly, all sales made. She gets 10%. I kind of wish it was more than 10%, but whatever. She gets 10% of the proceeds. At least they were willing to do that, to go to this foundation. The ladies arrive. Kenya and Portia's daughters look cute. They're dressed like in mini versions of them. Despite Drew using the same makeup artist as Portia and trying to hold up the makeup artist hostage, according to Portia, she got there in time with a light beat. I just hate that y'all always feel the need to do these big old beats to come on camera. I get it that filming and lighting changes things, but oh, how I would love to see a natural face without all the extra stuff on it. So we see Cynthia and Portia talking. Cynthia tells Portia that she doesn't have to have everything together right now, that there's going to be good and bad days. Shamia arrives with her youngest daughter. Britt arrives. Kenya embraces her. Let me say that again. Britt arrives and Kenya embraces her. Angela wants to talk to Shamia. Shamia, meanwhile, is over with Portia, joking Angela in her nose. She does tell us that she knows that it's petty, but she's not feeling it. Kelly goes to speak. Kelly tells her story about how she found out about her daughter's condition at 6 weeks old. She noticed something was wrong with her daughter's, I think she said her name was Chance, arm. So she took her child to the hospital to get checked out, and she noticed that 2 police were blocking the door. CPS came and they wouldn't even allow her to leave because they thought that her daughter was being abused. Does this sound dramatic? Yes. Does it sound awful that she was accused of this? Yes. But I much rather have it be a situation where you are questioning me about that than have a child that's actually being harmed and it going unnoticed. So a doctor made the discovery that she had OI when he took a flashlight to her eyes and he saw like a blue tint. She says that foundations like OI help with these type of discoveries. And because of the doctor, she was able after a month to leave with her kids. Stories like this is what makes me appreciate these ladies. I may not have liked how Kelly was in an earlier scene, but I really, really think that she has a lot of strength. I think that her telling this story could help other people, and I love gaining knowledge about stuff like this. Like, I want to go look this up after I'm done with this recording just to see more about this condition, because I don't know why, but I thought that with brittle bones, like they suggested that you're not even mobile a whole bunch. Like I've seen in other studies where you see people who are in wheelchairs and things of that nature because of how dangerous something as simple as a fall is. So I want to look more into it, but I'm glad that her daughters are doing well and that foundations like this exist. So Drew enters the building. She is late. I think it was Kenya suggested that she go and talk to Portia. Drew doesn't want to force it. I'm with Drew, and I wish Drew wouldn't have went and said anything to Portia, because all you did was give Portia yet another moment. Angela approaches Shamia saying that she knows that, they ended things on, a bad foot the other day. That's normally not how she likes to operate. And Shamia's like, yeah, we did. I like Shamia, but Shamia, in my opinion, was meeting Angela with a different energy. When Angela came over there, she legitimately did see like she was trying to make peace, but Shamia was defensive. And I don't know why. I don't know if at this point she doesn't like her. And if she doesn't, that's fine. But it shouldn't have turned into what it did or turned into. So Shamia's like, I would like to speak to Angela and not Drew's representative. And Angela says, I'm being myself. I am Angela. I was Angela that day. So Shamia's like, oh, if that's what you're saying, and if you standing on that, well, we don't need to continue speaking. I'm cool on you. And she begins to walk off. And I was like, okay, I wish it would have ended like that. Y'all don't have to be friends. Angela calls her a mean girl. She calls her Shamina, and Shamia's like, my name is Shamia. They argue back and forth. Shamia calls her 90s nose. Angela says she's Flavor Flav because she's the biggest hype man. Shamia is talking about use some glue to help her nose. I didn't get that. And Angela is talking about Shamia getting her nose out of Portia's butt. They are doing all of this with the kids around. And Kenya was like, my daughter's here. Yeah, like, chill out, y'all. Come on. It's not only are you doing it with the kids around, but you're doing it in a store. You're doing it where this event is being thrown for this foundation. Like, come on, be better. So Shamia is at the side saying, yeah, like I was Flavor of Flav for Halloween, but I didn't know that Angela was going to come today as LaToya Jackson. Shamia apologizes to Drew for how she handled the situation. They're good. It should have been that simple. All the rest of the stuff didn't need to happen. Drew then tries to approach Portia. Portia has no desire to talk to her, and Portia tries to make it seem like Drew was demanding to talk to her when I don't feel like that's what she was doing. Portia in confession says she doesn't want to have a conversation with her with Heavy D there. And she's calling Drew's sister Heavy D. I don't like that. I feel like the reason why you didn't want to have a conversation with her is because you knew that her sister got a backbone when Drew doesn't. Overall, they spent $30,000 there. I don't recall if the 30,000 was how the 10% was 30,000, or if 30,000 was what was spent and they're going to be given 3,000. I don't know how that works, but I guess any amount is better than nothing. You all let me know what you thought about this episode. If there's something that I forgot to talk about, please put it down below. I did not plan on being here for this long. Until next time, peace.